This time I'd like to call the meeting to order. This is a regular session of the Black Mountain Board of Aldermen for May. Welcome everyone. If you would, please turn off your cell phones and your beepers. At this time I'd like for us to stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance, and then Pastor Crystal McPhail of the Tabernacle United Methodist Church will come and do our invocation. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Gracious God, we come before you this evening, giving you thanks for the way in which you move in our lives, for being here as protection for this community of Black Mountain, to reach out to those who spend their time, energy, volunteer hours to feed, clothe, and be here for the people. As we convene this evening, we ask for you to be in our speech, in our minds, and in our very doing, so that in all things we are doing good for the common good of all people. Keep us all close and under the understanding of peace, guided always by your wisdom. For it is in your holy name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor.
Thank you.
The Town of Black Mountain would like to thank everyone who participated in the litter sweep this year. A special thanks goes out to the Black Mountain Beautification Committee for coordinating everything, their work, and the participation in this event. The totals for litter sweep 2012 from April 14th through April 28th, 36 people participated in the cleanup, 70 bags of litter were collected, and 34 and a half hours were worked picking up litter in the community. We all saw a real difference in that, and we thank each one of you. I'd like to thank the board for their work over the past 60 days in looking at applications for our town manager. We've had approximately 70 applications from all across the United States, including all the states surrounding us and throughout North Carolina. This past week, we unanimously made a selection. Today, we received a contract back from the candidate. His name is Matthew Settlemeyer. He is currently the town manager of Drexel, North Carolina, and he will be here July 2nd. We'll have a program going forward that we'll be able to introduce him, and also I talked with Jennifer Fitzgerald, our editor of the Black Mountain News, and give her some contact information that she'll be given to the public through the newspaper. But we'll also be introducing him, I would think, over the next 60 days. He does have to work a 45-day notice. I'd like to do a proclamation tonight, the Older Americans Month, May 2012. Whereas May has been declared Older Americans Month in the area, North Carolina, and the nation. Whereas the town of Black Mountain recognizes the value of longevity of life. And whereas the theme of Older Americans Month, Never Too Old to Play, puts a spotlight on the important role older adults play in sharing their experience, wisdom, and understanding, and passing on of that knowledge to other generations in a variety of significant ways. This year's celebrations will recognize the value that older adults continue to bring to our communities through spirited participation in social and faith groups, service organizations, and other activities. And whereas older members of our communities in Buncombe, Henderson, Madison, and Transylvania counties of North Carolina provide us with invaluable links to the past and can provide wise counsel for the future. And whereas the aging network in our region, consisting of community volunteer programs and service provider agencies, provide year-round critical services that ensure older individuals and their families have the information and assistance they need to make informed decisions and choices. And whereas our society is dependent upon the nurturing, support, and resources shared between generations and benefits from our mutual efforts to meet the needs of America's older persons and those who love them. Therefore, I, Carl Bartlett, Mayor of the town of Black Mountain, North Carolina, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2012 is Older Americans Month. We urge all to promote and participate in activities that continue to help Older Americans make choices for a healthy and rewarding future. Dated this 14th day of May 2012. This time Renee would like to come forward and make some comments.
Hi. I'm Renee Mastrangelo. I'm the director at the Lakeview Senior Center over at Lake Tomahawk. I've met many of you. First of all, I'd just like to say thank you for reading that proclamation and drawing attention to Older Americans Month. We have a wide variety of programs that we offer at the Senior Center, and my job is to advocate for seniors, for the promotion of programs at the Senior Center, and for accessibility of programs throughout Black Mountain. So I just wanted to take a minute just to, draw attention to the community and talk about the programs that we offer. Last week we spent a week in Chicago. We had 30 senior citizens from the area on a bus trip. Often when I talk about the programs that we participate in, something that comes to mind is when I got hired to do this position 6 years ago. Previously I was leading road bike trips for senior citizens, and when I came here, somebody made a comment to me saying, well, the seniors here won't be doing anything like that. And since I have started here, we have traveled to New York City, to New Orleans, to Miami, to Washington, D.C., to Savannah, to Chicago. We have biked the Virginia Creeper Trail. We've canoed the French Broad River. We've kayaked on Lake James. We have hiked every Tuesday for 5 years. And so I'm proud to say that we have indeed, involved the seniors of Black Mountain to be more active, to be advocates for themselves, and to be a part of the community in ways that they didn't ever expect that they could be. And I'm just here to say thank you for supporting our programs, for continuing seeing the Lakeview Senior Center as an asset to the community, for supporting the renovations that happened last year that now make our building ADA accessible and allow everybody of every ability to be a part of the community at Lake Tomahawk, and that just in future planning that you keep us in mind and continue to advocate as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Renee. Your programs grow more dear to me every day. This time I'd like to recognize one of our policemen, Officer Fred Tennant. Fred's been with the police department quite a while. Fred, you come right here. This is from the State of North Carolina Criminal Justice Education and Training Standards Commission. To all to whom these presents may come greeting, be it known that in recognition of the attainment of training and educational objectives commensurate with the role of a professional criminal justice officer and of personal devotion and service to the people of North Carolina, the Attorney General and the Chairman and members of the North Carolina Criminal Justice Education and Training Standards Commission, through the authority vested in them by the laws of the state, do hereby award to Frederick Lewis Heineman. I never knew you'd go with that, Fred. This advanced law enforcement certificate with all the rights and privileges therein to belong.
I'd just like to say it's been an honor to serve the folks of Black Mountain for the last 20 years. And it's a privilege to work with these gentlemen right here. I think with Mr. Padgett's leadership, this department's going to be going in leaps and bounds. And I just want to know you folks are in very safe hands.
Thank you, Fred. Thank you, Fred. This time we'll have citizen comments. First is Ruth Brandon.
Thank you for doing a proclamation for me, Paul. For the older Americans, I appreciate that. I'm Ruth Brandon, 722 Laurel Avenue, and I am one of the older Americans he was talking about. During the campaign for town board last fall, we heard a lot about the lack of civility on the town board. In fact, civility became the buzzword of the campaign. The one candidate who complained the loudest was you, Mike. And I'm hearing that some of the present board members are striving for a kinder and gentler board, for which I commend you. So I need to ask you, Mike, if this unkind email that you sent to Al dated May 4th is your interpretation of a kinder and gentler. And I say all this to say that one of our finest citizens, one with a sterling reputation, ABC board member Mary Sneed, is facing major surgery soon and has been more or less confined to her home by her surgeon until early July, which will certainly allow her to attend the ABC board meeting at the end of July. Characteristic of Mary, she has refused to accept her ABC board salary for the 2 meetings that she'll miss. Mike, in your reference to her surgery, your email reads, in part, this I quote from your email, "I feel sure there is time for her to appear for the ABC store meeting, since it will not even take 2, maybe 3 hours at the most. And I'm sorry to say, you say, but this is just another stall tactic to drag this issue out until the reappointment of a new member of the ABC board. We have seen this movie, you say, several times, and we know who the director is. And it is not Mary Sneed. That's your words in the email. Did you mean, Mike, to use the word reappointment of the new ABC board member, or did you mean to use the word appointment? Or do you know something that the other board members don't know? And would you tell us the name of the movie that you referenced, the name of the director that you made accusations against? And thank you, Carlos, for defending Mary and her upcoming surgery in your answer to this unkind email. Your character is coming through, and it used some slang words loud and clear. Thank you.
The next is John DeWitt. Can you speak American fluently right now after this big trip I heard you've been on?
Yes, I can. Very positive here.
John's been to China, for those of you who don't know.
That's why my body is still there, I think, or mind. I'm John DeWitt, 169 Hilltop Road, Black Mountain. I just want to take a moment to update the board on the activities at the Town Square project, as things are moving at a fast pace and the community support has been fantastic. First of all, we have ordered some truckloads of topsoil, and we'll be spreading over the area and planting more grass to get things growing. The cost for this will be fully paid by the Town Square funds, okay, not by the town. We have identified over 25 champions who will be willing to speak and publicly support the project and assist with fundraising. We have an oversight committee of 8 local community leaders who are advising our committee and our consultants, and they meet regularly to provide input. We are beginning an interview process with identified community members to brainstorm ideas regarding the project and the planned activities. We are continuing to receive individual contributions to the foundation for the project and have been receiving many contributions in a memorial for Willie Headley, which we were really pleased, to the point where we have almost enough money now to have designated an area called, will be called the Willie Headley Memorial Garden. So things have really moved, and we appreciate the support of this community. Exciting thing is the Billy Casper Company is sponsoring a golf clinic and tournament with Mr. Casper flying into town Friday morning to be here all day, providing the clinic at 12:30 with a lunch and with a tournament with prizes for the community, with all profits going to the Town Square Fund. So we appreciate that. We appreciate people signing up for it. I heard people are signing up a lot just to be there to be with him and to play. So that is this Friday, so if you're still interested, I think there's still a couple slots open to play. And our Town Square Committee continues to meet regularly to provide guidance and support to all activities, and we are on target for our planned activities. We appreciate the tremendous support from you, the aldermen, and this community. And anyone interested in helping with fundraising, please contact either Tom Gill or me here at Town Hall, and we'll get back with you and sign you up for anything. So again, thank you to the community. Thank you to the aldermen. Things are moving fast. Thank you.
John and I talked with one of the local topsoil businesses, and they committed 4 truckloads free.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Savannah Henderson.
Hello, and thank you for taking the time to listen to me. I'm a junior at Owen High School, and I work for a group in Asheville called Youth Empowered Solutions with a tobacco use prevention program. I've come to you guys to talk to you a little bit about the smoking ban on the parks and playgrounds in Black Mountain, in the hopes that you will see the necessity of it, as do I. I've grown up in the Black Mountain area. I've played baseball in the parks. My brother's played baseball, and now we watch my little brother play baseball there every weekend. And it's always been a very enjoyable place to be. However, the smoke has been a little bit of an irritation. It has many effects that people can see, from coughs to runny eyes, but also many effects that people cannot see. Secondhand smoke has been linked to heart disease and many cancers, and it has many harmful chemicals, and the biggest part is, I know many people say it's a right. However, the people who are being affected by the secondhand smoke, it is not their choice to take in these same harmful chemicals as it is the smoker. They did not choose to smoke, however, they are being affected, and they may contract these diseases the same way that the smoker does. Secondhand smoke causes worse asthma and asthma-related problems in up to 1 million children every year. And children are very vulnerable to secondhand smoke. And right now, currently, our children are all being exposed to the harms of secondhand smoke in our parks. So no parent, I think, should really have to worry about exposing their child to any harmful substance while in a place meant for enjoyment and safety. This ban is a great step, I believe, towards protecting them and making a safe environment for our future generations to grow up in and enjoy themselves. We can't stop everyone from smoking, but if we can stop at least one person, then I would say that this smoking ban on parks and playgrounds is definitely a success. So I just came to urge you all to vote, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. The next thing on our agenda is our consent agenda. Under our consent agenda, any of the board wishes to pull any of this out as we go through it, just speak up. The adoption of minutes from April the 5th, 2012, April 9th, 2012, April 12th, and April 19th. Call for a public hearing for tobacco-free ordinance. This will be the call for a public hearing on June the 18th at 6 p.m., which will be our regular board meeting. C, donation of obsolete computers to authorize financial director to donate obsolete computers to the Swanville Valley Christian Ministry. The D is proposal to adopt resolution for Lakeview pool debt refinancing. This is to authorize financial director to refinance the Lakeview pool debt by lowering the current rate at 3.91 to 2.97. Proposal to adopt resolution for town square debt refinancing. To authorize the financial director to refinance the town square property debt by lowering the current rate on this debt from 18 years at 4.92 to 3.07 over 15 years. First at Blue Ridge, janitorial service and mowing service contracts. These are to approve the first at Blue Ridge Incorporated janitorial service and mowing service contracts the town for 2 years, beginning July 1, 2012, and terminating June 30th, 2014. G, W.K. Dixon contract, to authorize the town manager to contract with W.K. Dixon for GIS services for water infrastructure for the town of Black Mountain. Proposal to adopt budget amendment as submitted, transferring $30,000 from MSD reimbursements in the Water Capital Projects Fund for painting of the Hemp Hill water tank. I, proposal to adopt a budget amendment as submitted, transferring $150,000 from the general fund to the General Capital Project Fund for 2 projects. Proposal to change 2012 monthly Board of Aldermen agenda and regular session dates due to a conflict in schedule. This would be changing it and holding it in June instead of June the 11th to June the 18th, 2012 at 6 p.m. Is there a consent motion to approve these items as presented?
I want to make a comment, if you would, please, before that, in pool I,
Okay.
and address I. This was brought to our attention in our budget meeting, and this is a budget figure here for the general, from the general fund to the capital for 2 projects, $175,000 to do the repairs that need to be to meet the state standards for the dam at Lake Tomahawk. There's trees on that dam, and apparently with the roots growing in there, you have more susceptibility to leakage and a possible break. The other 75 is for possible repairs at the fire department and structural repairs. We've had Medlock Engineering look at that, has already issued a report. So, Al, wasn't this, I mean, why wouldn't we be dealing with this in just our regular budget, in the upcoming budget then?
Well, what I'd like to do, what I'm recommending to you that we do is go ahead with these 2 projects on the horizon, both Lake Tomahawk and the fire department. We're certainly not going to be spending any money, but we'll be putting $75,000 back in an effort to put back some money, knowing that these are coming along. And that is money that we are moving out of the current year budget. And I feel like that's probably the best place to put it right now. That don't mean that we're committing it to that. We've got to have further study on that. Now, no question about the Lake Tomahawk project. The trees, they're going to have to be removed, and we're just waiting to hear the final word back on that one. We still are, as I said in the budget workshop, not budget workshop, in the agenda workshop, that we're still waiting on that part. We've got someone else looking at that at no charge, coming with some further ideas. So we're still in the planning stages on that one. So, but my thinking is for you guys to put some money back, just in case, so to speak. That don't mean it's going to be spent, not at all. But to squirrel some money back and to have toward that project if and when we have to do this.
It's my understanding that, yes, we will probably need to do something on the dam. We don't know to what extent until we get bids.
That's right.
But yet there may not need to be anything done on the fire department. And so, from the Medlock report, so I just don't see where time is of the essence to have to do this, and we'll just deal with it in the regular budget.
I don't disagree with that. Have you walked through the fire department?
Yeah, there's got to be, there will have to be some work done over there. I'm sitting there having my blood pressure taken, and the roof was leaking water on top of it.
Yeah, but that's a separate issue, though.
That's part of the Medlock
That
engineering.
back wall, Mike, that back wall is falling out. The water is going underneath that building,
That's right.
and it's leaking underneath there. There's got to be some major work done on that building.
From the Medlock report, it did not seem to identify exactly how, they talked about settling on the thing. I mean, there's no question that there is some settling, I mean, I'm not.
Yeah, there's no
doubting
question.
that
Yeah,
there's
but
not.
we got to do something, or the
But
building's
to
going
the
to collapse.
extent of how much that we have to spend on this. And the issue that the mayor said, though, that's a roof issue. This, from what I understood, this $75,000 is a foundation issue. And
think
if
it's
we have to fix the
tied
roof, we gotta fix the
together.
roof. We need to, but you didn't mention anything about the roof at the agenda meeting.
No, we haven't, but I think, to me,
I thought Medlock covered the roof.
I think it's pretty well tied together. I think that the problem, I won't say it's one and the same, but it kind of goes together, for lack of a better way to say it.
And the tile in the bathroom on the walls is cracking to the point that it's almost falling off. I mean, you got major cracks in the tile. The floor in the kitchen has got pulled apart to the point where you got floor tiles that are actually apart from one another. Then you got a side of that building that's got an issue with it.
But what you're looking at right now, Doris, you're not looking at spending the money, you're just looking at sitting on the
That's all
side.
we're doing.
And if the way you're describing things, that money might have to be used to make those repairs anyway, correct?
Could very well be.
Absolutely. This is just a method, as far as I'm concerned, a method to try to put back some money. I don't think there's any question in looking at the building, there's gonna have to be some money spent.
Is this gonna come back to the board when it comes time to spend that
Oh,
money?
yeah, oh, yeah, absolutely. The whole deal will come back to the board. It's just a matter right now, it's a matter of tonight of saying, okay, we got $75,000 set aside for this project. If it ends up being 55, then you're on the plus side. If it ends up being 125, at least you've got 75 toward that 125. And that's my thinking on it. We do not know what kind of money it's gonna be at this time. I wish I could say, but I think that's certainly an unknown. But before anything is done, it's gonna have to come back to the board for your approval. Absolutely. Not a dime of that $75,000 will be spent without board approval on the whole. There'll be a contract awarded, bids taken, contract awarded, and for your approval.
What kind of impact will this have on current year budget now? Will it be $150,000 on this budget?
Yes.
Is that what the current year we're in?
Yes, and Dean and I are confident, we've gone over things with a fine tooth comb, and we're confident that we'll be able to do this.
Can I ask Dean the question?
Sure, absolutely.
Dean, you in the budget session that we had, you were speaking that we would be adding roughly $200,000 to the general fund balance. There would also be some money that Mr. Collins was referring to that had been set aside for various departments, a fund of $318,000, but that was going to be roughly $200,000 more that was going to be in there. So my point is, if we've got those two, would that $400,000 be depleted by 150?
The money that Mr. Collins has spoke of, that money is already in fund balance. It was in fund balance last year. Now, it was assigned fund balance, whereas this year it's going to be unassigned fund balance, what you guys used to know as unrestricted fund balance. We are looking to add, not even talking about that money, we will be adding approximately $200,000 to total fund balance this year, just because revenues are going to end up higher than expenditures. And that's including the $150,000 in our expenditures.
So to answer Mike's question is, basically, we're gonna have $400,000 more in fund balance. $200,000 is going to be basically transfer of money. It's not actual money. It's unassigned to the fund balance, and you're saying that we're going to have $200,000 more in fund balance on top of that. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, I differentiate between total fund balance and unrestricted fund balance.
Mm-hmm.
Unrestricted fund balance will be going up by about 400 total. Total fund balance will probably be going up by only about 200. And I can, maybe Thursday morning, we'll kind of go through this a little bit. Al and I have spoke about it.
if in fact we were to go ahead and if this, and it doesn't look like it's gonna get voted down, but if it did get voted down, would that mean we have roughly 550?
If the entire thing was voted down, yeah, your math is right. Your math is right.
One thing, if I may add, and this is, I don't think I'm speaking too soon on this. One thing that Dean and I have talked at length about, and it will be part of my budget message that I'll be bringing Thursday to you. We feel pretty confident that last year versus this year, where we're sitting right now, you're sitting on a 28.5% unrestricted fund balance. We feel like that when all the dust settles, after this budget year, we feel like we're going to be at 32.5%. So we feel like that we're going to probably end up with about a 4% increase. That's not guaranteed, but that's where we're looking right now. That's due to a lot of things. We got revenues that are up, as Dean says, and we've done a lot of things, absolutely done a lot of things, cost savings. That's all departments. They have made a concentrated effort to cut cost all the way through. We're trying to cut IT cost. We've cut on sanitation contract. I'll talk a little bit more about that later on in the meeting. But we have made a full press, for lack of a better way to say it, to try to save money. And my hat's off to all of our department heads for what they have done in this process. They've done a great job.
Well, it's good to see the fund balance going back up where we had it previously. Do you still pull down and just discussed?
No, I just want to discuss that.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I've got one question.
Okay.
Al, on F, are we entering into this contract for the 2 years just basically to get the rate or not?
What we've done on that, we've kind of done, I think we've done a 2-year contract all the way through, but this is a great example, and I didn't mention this a while ago, this is a great example of what our Public Services Department has done in taking back over a portion of this and doing it in-house versus contracting it out. Jamie, not to put you on the spot, but what did we say the savings on that's going to be?
I've seen so many numbers in the past 2 months, I can't remember exactly, but it was between 7,000 and 11,000.
Yeah, I knew it was in the 10,000, give or take just a little bit. But that's another one of our money-saving ventures, so to speak.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve consent items A through J as presented. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next is Strive Not to Drive events. Carolyn Freiberger, our Health Services Program Administrator.
Thank you for putting this on the agenda for the evening and taking some time to talk about these events. Tonight I'm kind of speaking on behalf of the Greenways Commission. The Black Mountain Greenway Commission is going to be sponsoring a number of events next week for Strive Not to Drive Week. As you can see up there, Strive Not to Drive Week is May 21st to 25th, and this is an effort to promote active and sustainable transportation in our region. A couple of the events that we're going to be promoting on Sunday, May 20th, there will be a group cycling ride led by a local group called Velo Girl Rides, and that's open to anyone. It's a free event. Bring a bicycle and a helmet. It'll be about a 11 to 15 mile long ride that'll cover many of our greenway trails as well as some local roads. Then also on Sunday, we're going to have free entry to the pool if you bike or walk to the Black Mountain Pool. It does open the day before on May 19th. Throughout the week, May 21st to 25th, individuals and organizations can sign up for the Workplace Challenge to Strive Not to Drive. So you take a pledge online to commit to try to bus, bike, carpool, or walk as much as possible during that week. And you can visit www.strivenottodrive.com for more information on how to sign up. And then on Tuesday, May 22nd, from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., the Greenways Commission and a couple of other organizations are going to be set up on the town square property with some information about all forms of alternate transportation in Black Mountain. So we'll have information on the Greenways, information on the bus system that will take you to Asheville through Asheville Transit, also on Mountain Mobility's bus routes that serve Black Mountain, and finally on how to find other carpoolers if you live in Black Mountain and drive to Asheville every day, or vice versa, how to connect with other folks that are going the same way that you are. So I'd encourage everybody to get involved and strive not to drive in one way or another, and visit the website for some more information on how to sign the pledge. And then I have one other brief announcement while I'm up here. We just last week had a walk to school day and a bike rodeo, also through the Greenway Commission. We had 125 kids walk to school with us on Wednesday morning. It was our most successful walk to school day yet, several on bikes as well. And then on Friday afternoon, we had about 40 kids come and learn about bike safety, the different hand signals, and how to ride on the road on Friday afternoon. So those events were very successful. Appreciate your support on those Safe Routes to School events, and also want to thank the First Baptist Church for allowing us to use their space so graciously with those events as well. So thank you.
Board thanks you for your leadership on this.
Absolutely.
Next is a public hearing on text amendments to the land use code. Is there a motion to open the public hearing? In discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
This time I'd like to call on our legal counsel to make a statement in regard to the proposed text amendment.
This is getting the backside first on this one. I don't need follow-up comments on that. This is a proposal, came out of the planning board, I believe. It's a recommendation that this board adopt or modify our ordinances, provide that when somebody appeals a decision of any zoning or other city official that can be appealed to the zoning board of adjustment, that notice be given to all the property owners in a certain distance or around the property affected by the decision, if a property is affected. And as I said, we're going backwards first because it's my thought on it, and I may be out of place, maybe it's not my job as town attorney, but it struck me that what we've done, if we adopt that, and there's a difference between the other situations that the Board of Adjustment addresses and an appeal. Board of Adjustments deals with three different situations. One is a variance. That's when you go to the Board of Adjustment and say, I want to be able to do something that's slightly against the zoning ordinance. I want a break. The other is conditional uses or special uses. In our ordinance, there are, in some districts, there are permitted uses subject to conditions, and to be able, you have to go in and prove that you're going to be able to do certain things, and that goes to the Board of Adjustment. Now keep in mind, what are those two things doing? One is you're getting a variance that means you're going to get to do something your neighbors can't. The other is conditional use. That means you're going to get to do something that's allowed in your district, but it's going to be a little different from what your neighbors were able to do as a matter of right, and you've got to prove that you meet these conditions. Both of those are situations where presently our ordinances require notice to be given to property owners within, I think, 200 feet of the affected property. When you go to the Board of Adjustment in that situation for variance, it's the first time you've talked to anybody and asked for variance. When you go in for conditional use, it's the first time that you've made your application and put forward your case for conditional use. When I go into the zoning department and say, I want to build a house on this corner lot, and I want my certificate of zoning compliance that says I fit, and they tell me, no, you don't, and I disagree, I appeal. That is not a matter where I'm asking for anything different from my neighbors. I'm just saying that you interpreted it wrong. I'm appealing. I want a decision. We step back a notch and let's look at the function of the Zoning Board of Adjustment. That is a quasi-judicial body. They have a hearing. They hear facts, evidence, and they make decisions. It's not a political process. It's not legislative. They can't change the rules. No matter how many people show up and how many squeaking wheels are there, those are not the things that should move a Board of Adjustment. And especially when they're hearing an appeal. First, when they're hearing an appeal, their job is to interpret. Say, was the zoning administrator or whoever's appealed from was correct?
That's not a popularity contest. It's not something that the neighbors have really any true input into. My concern, if you adopt such a notice requirement, is you've opened a door that you may not want to open. As a friend of mine says, that you may let the camel get his nose in the tent. If you're going to find that if I go for a zoning permit or a building permit, and if I don't like the decision and I appeal it, the notice should be given to all my neighbors, then shouldn't those neighbors have been given notice before I even applied for the building permit? Do we want to go there? I don't think so. I think that the statutes and our ordinance are fairly well thought out as to when the neighbors get notice. The neighbors get notice when you're going to get to do something different from them. The neighbors get notice when you're going to get to do something and you want to make sure they meet the conditions. The neighbors don't need to get notice. So I'm just in there to say that Jennifer made a wrong decision, and I think I want it corrected. I'm appealing that. And that's my position on it, that this is not necessary. It's adding a burden on our staff to give notice where it's not needed, and the point of notice and the situations where notice is given for the Board of Adjustment just is not there. I'm not affecting the interest of a neighbor when I appeal a decision.
So after all that legalese, you're recommending that we not approve this?
My suggestion is that we not approve it. That's one suggestion.
Okay. Any comments from the board before we have public? Any public comments? There being none, is there a motion to close the public hearing? Any discussion? I have a motion to close it. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is there a motion to adopt this ordinance amendment? There being none, it dies for lack of a motion. Okay. Unfinished business. Town debt reduction appointment committee members Ryan Stone.
Thank you all for giving me a few minutes tonight, and I'm very excited to present to you 4 names for consideration to this board. The first would be Chad Knight, who currently is on our Housing Committee. I would also like to nominate Anna Stearns, Sam Decker, and Cheryl Milton.
This comes from a committee as a proposal. Is there a motion that we appoint Chad Knight, Anna Stearns, Sam Decker, and Cheryl Milton?
I'll make.
The motion, is there any discussion on this? There being none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you for what you're doing. Grow, Western North Carolina discussion on Black Mountain becoming a member. I think you're going to address that, aren't you, Al?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Land of Sky, if you remember, I believe it was last month that they come out and made a presentation to us on Grow WNC and was encouraging us to join the organization. Now, Grow WNC, they had tons more info than I'll ever be able to talk about. But one of the main things in this thing, there is 7 components that come out from that, and that's housing, economic, transportation, natural and cultural resources, health, energy, and land use. So I come to you tonight, to the board, recommending to you, I did research with Land of Sky Regional Council. One of my main concerns was if we did join as an entity, would we be committing to anything down the road? In other words, 2 years, whatever, down the road, would we be making a commitment that we'd have to pony up whatever? And the answer is no, we will not. I see no downside to the town of Black Mountain joining. Now, the mayor and I have talked about it, and I believe, Mayor, that you had said that you'd be glad to be our representative initially, and I know that Peter Vasquez, did I say that right? Yes, you did. He is chairman of our housing commission, and I had a conversation with him, and he would like to be the representative to that. And there'll probably be other folks coming forth in other areas that would like to represent the town in that way. But my recommendation tonight to you is that we do go ahead and join the organization through Land and Sky.
There are about 5 areas in Grove that we'll be addressing, and that'd be great, Peter, that you'll be a part of it. And we'll certainly be asking other folks within the community to be a part. A lot of it, part I'm mostly interested in is economic development part of it that we'll be working on. At this time, I'll ask for a motion that we become a part of the Grove, Western North Carolina.
I make the motion that we become part of the Grove, Western North Carolina.
In discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
And with that, if you will, authorize either myself or the mayor to sign that, to sign the contract, to sign the application.
Is there a motion that Al and myself sign the application?
Also move.
Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0.
Good deal.
Next is the pertaining to the rebuilding the croquet court and guidelines for financial issues with Billy Casper Management Company. Sir, I didn't get your name. Are you wanting to address us tonight?
Yeah, no, Jim Seward will.
Great.
I'm Bill Munn.
Okay.
Mayor, let me just give a little bit of background,
Yeah.
if I may. After our discussion, we got quotes, as you know, from Bill Casper Golf, of what it would be to redo, for lack of a better way to say it, the croquet court. And I met these two gentlemen come to see me, Bill Munn and Jim Seward, thank you. Come to see me, and so it kind of evolved from there. We put it on the agenda, and guys, thank you for coming tonight.
Gentlemen, Black Mountain is one of 5 cities in the United States that have a municipal croquet court. The city of San Francisco, Chicago, New York City, Richmond, Virginia, and Black Mountain, North Carolina. That's pretty heady company. There have been 15 national titles won by members of this croquet court, numerous state titles. I've won 2 national titles myself, a couple of state titles. A member won a national seniors title last November, and he and I finished second in a doubles tournament in West Palm Beach. I personally represented the city of Black Mountain from Palm Springs in the west to Hilton Head in the east, Montreal in the north, and West Palm Beach in the south. And other members have represented the city and the club all over the United States. We have in the past held inter-North Carolina croquet club matches in Black Mountain. Players have come to Black Mountain, stayed in our motels, and used our restaurants. The American six-racket croquet is best described as playing chess on a pool table. It's played on a flat, level, putting green surface. It is not backyard croquet. The unique part about this game is it can be played equally well by both men and women, aged 10 to 90. I've been beat by a 14-year-old kid and an 85-year-old woman. This croquet court is a unique resource for this city, and it's worth maintaining. Now, the history of this court: in 1991, several private citizens approached the then city council and asked permission to turn a corner of the golf course being utilized as a trash dump into a championship croquet court. They built a 1.5 size croquet court, 85 by 155, and a clubhouse, and spent $75,000 of their own funds. The city council agreed to maintain this championship level court. In the following 21 years, the court has paid for all the wickets and club mallets, repairs to the clubhouse, gravel for the parking lot, plumbers, painting the clubhouse. The cost to the city has been 0. in the last 21 years. We have in the past voluntarily given money toward the city's court maintenance cost, but we're under no obligation to do so under the original agreement. I started playing croquet in 2000. We had 65 members then, and we have 13 members today. In great part, the loss of membership is due to the condition of the court. We have held free lessons, conducted interviews with newspapers and television. We've held open houses to try and develop new players. The city's park department has never promoted the croquet court, nor sponsored any activities at the court. The court is currently unplayable and has been in bad shape the last 4 years due to a combination of neglect by golf course management, not spending any money on the court, and bad weather. The croquet club is willing to pay $3,000 toward the cost of rebuilding this croquet court to a championship level. And I'm here to answer any questions that you might have, ladies and gentlemen.
Board have any questions?
Jim, I have one. I mean, if it's been unplayable for the last 4 years, where have you guys been?
Well, there's a difference between going out and playing a fun game between two players. It's like playing basketball on a concrete court, a little bit different from playing on a wooden floor inside. If it's a perfect level playing green, then you develop a touch for how hard to hit the ball. And we do different things with the balls. We can jump one over another. We can hit one ball to one wicket, another ball to another wicket. But if you're playing on a bad court, like we have been for the last 4 years, then when we go to a tournament that has a perfect court, it takes us 3 or 4 days to develop our touch back. And therefore, we're not as likely to win.
Well, I remember when, Buzz Lee started it way back when.
Taught me how to play.
Yeah, and for a while there, you could drive by the court and see folks out there dressed in white all the time. But
Indeed.
I can't remember any time within the last couple of years where I've seen that. I mean, 4 years have gone by. Why haven't you guys been to us before now? Why haven't you been to the board before now?
I have been to the former Parks Director. I've been to the former Golf Pro, and we got nothing. I'm here now, hat in hand.
Any other questions, comments? Al, I think you've got some numbers, like you said, from Billy Casper on the rehab of this.
Yes, sir.
That we discussed, that we weren't very happy with those numbers, and possibility of looking outside at someone else, bringing back some numbers to us, instead of them doing it. And looking at it, as Al and I looked at it, probably need to fill that hole in the middle to make level out some, and then totally re-sided the court. That was our thoughts.
The gentlemen who originally did this 21 years ago are very nice people. One was a doctor, one is an English professor. They've never built anything in their lives. And quite frankly, they did not get value for their money. The court was not built like a putting green should have been built. So the underpinnings aren't there. The limited drainage that they put in needs to be replaced. The topsoil needs to be replaced. It needs to be revamped completely to make the grass grow. They've tried 3 different times to fix that hole in the middle, unsuccessfully.
Do you have fairly good knowledge of exactly what needs to be done?
Yes, sir.
Why don't you bring that back to our town manager, the exact things that you feel need to be done, and let him get some proposals?
We have talked with the Billy Casper people, and what they're proposing to do is probably what needs to be done.
So exactly what is that?
They need to strip off that ½ inch of good topsoil, redo the drains, install some sand, new drains, and then dirt, and then they're going to resod it with a bent grass sod, and then try and level it out as best we can over the next years with sod mix on top to level it out.
How do you feel about changing the grass to the new hybrid?
The Bermuda, I'm ambivalent about it, whether it's Bermuda or bent grass. I really don't care. The Bermuda will go dead in the wintertime, but if we want to go play croquet in the wintertime, we can go to Florida.
Yeah, it's much less maintenance.
It is less maintenance once it's in. But whether or not it'll stand up to the cold weather is the question.
Mayor, what they gave us on the different costs, the cost of the Champion conversion, and that's the Bermuda, is $13,255. That includes a cover to protect the surface during periods of extreme cold. You've got to cover that Bermuda to protect it, with an annual operating cost to maintain that at $3,900, I'm sorry. Cost of bent grass conversion estimated at $14,746, and annual operating cost to maintain your bent grass are approximately $4,800, and of course it doesn't require covering. So that's kind of the difference in the two. Difference in annual $3,900 versus $48,000. And the other way, $13,255 versus $14,746. That's what the proposal from Billy Casper got.
Mr. City Manager, I'm just concerned that we're seeing Billy Casper come back in here time after time wanting money out of us when we probably got some local people that could go in there and rebuild this course and save us some money. I think that, we get the drainage in there that we need, we get it leveled out. These numbers that these folks are throwing out, to me, sound high. I'm all for fixing it. That's not what I'm saying. I'm all for fixing it, but I want us to fix it right, and I think if we can do it for a far less number than what we're being told.
Let me address this to you, if I may. Do you know of anyone in the business that we could get a price from?
No, I'm an old retired cop, so growing grass is not my forte.
No, I just wanted to
I would
be your
assume
travels
that
if you
whoever built the 13th green on the golf course some years ago, I don't know if that was local or not, but that's the only knowledge I have at the moment.
Is there a National Croquet Association or something like that?
Yes, there is.
Maybe we can try to contact
We can
them.
contact them, and that's a great idea. Over the years, we've had three greens rebuilt, 1, 7, and 13. So we could look and see who gave the proposals on that. Yeah, we could get some other quotes.
And I'm sure the National Croquet Association would be of benefit to that. They would have some names that could come in and give you another bid.
Okay, will you get with me and give me the info with the National Croquet Association, who I might want to contact?
I'd be happy to.
On that, and we'll go from there.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments?
Thank you.
All right, the guidelines on the financial issues.
Second half of that topic is financial issues. As I told you last meeting, after Richard Hudson raised the question about the financial requirements or handling the financial money, I checked the statutes on that, talked to Carol Malonzi at the School of Government, and it's fairly clear that we've got to rearrange how the funds are handled that come and go through Billy Casper on the golf course operation. I think you have a draft letter in front of you that I put together as a starting point that I'd like to get in the mail tomorrow. I would add a deadline to that. I think in the last sentence I've got that we need a meeting with me and Al and Dean and their representatives as soon as possible. I'd like to change that last, to make that arrange that it be no later than the end of this month, just to put some sort of deadline on that so we can move forward.
Okay. I don't see any objection to this. Have each of you had time to read this letter?
Ron, I'd have a sidebar with him on Friday.
Billy?
Sir?
Well, he's going to tell you he doesn't know anything about it. It's his staff that we've got to deal with on it.
Yeah, but then some of that staff going to be in town with them? They could sit down and meet with Dean?
I'd say that. I haven't talked to them, but I'd say they certainly will be.
Why don't we just put the pressure on them?
Well,
Say,
we'll see,
look,
yeah.
guys, you know, hey,
We can do that.
this is what the deal is.
We can do that.
We got to pursue it.
So they got folks in town this Friday.
So
I'd like to say that we get it done by the end of the week. Get it done by Friday.
any other comments? Next is a resolution. This is a resolution of the Board of Aldermen in opposition to the City of Asheville's proposed business improvement district. Whereas the Board of Aldermen of the Town of Black Mountain understand that the Asheville City Council will soon take up a proposal to establish a business improvement district in downtown Asheville. And whereas it is further understood that the goal of this business improvement district is to enhance the cleanliness and safety of Asheville's central business district. And whereas the Board of Aldermen understand the desire to establish such a district and the potential benefits that might accrue to property owners within said district, and whereas unfortunately the proposed business improvement district would divert sales tax funds from other municipalities, school systems, and fire districts. And whereas newspaper reports indicate that the proposed business improvement district is being presented as a model for similar districts within other parts of the city. And whereas the proposed business improvement districts would redistribute sales tax revenue from smaller governments to help subsidize improvements to a geographic area that encompasses property with some of the highest tax values in the region. And whereas the diversion of such funds during the present economic climate would necessarily cause taxpayers in other parts of Buncombe County to pay higher taxes or fees or to forego services. Then therefore be it resolved that the Board of Aldermen of the Town of Black Mountain hereby respectfully request that the Asheville City Council table the proposed business improvement district until such time as a mechanism can be developed that would prevent the loss of sales tax revenues to other local governments.
I make a motion, we pass that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. Town Attorney, you have any other comments tonight?
I have none of consequence. I will tell you that we have a draft of the Community Development Block Grant application that we're presently reviewing, and there's some items that we need to go over before it's ready to present to this board and discuss.
Okay. Al Richardson, Town Manager.
Yes, sir. I have a couple of things tonight. One thing that I just want to make you aware of, I do have a couple of signal light requests into DOT. North Blue Ridge Road and Old Highway 70, we have had a lot of accidents there. And also, and this one surprised me a little bit, but Pagettown Road and 70 up on the east end of town. A lot of accidents there. The police chief, Paget, got me a report on that. I sent it to DOT to ask for a traffic count study to see if those two locations might warrant a red light. They will be getting back to me on that. They did tell me in the conversation that we had that accidents are not in the when they figure whether you're getting a red light or not, that don't come into play. I guess that probably can get you a study, but you've got to have a adequate traffic count to be able to qualify for one. So I'll keep you posted on that, but those two requests are in to DOT. I talked a little bit earlier, and I think this is worth mentioning tonight. This is something that the board passed last Monday, and I talked about the sanitation contract a little bit earlier in the meeting, and we have negotiated, and I've worked on this for some time, with GDS, our present sanitation contractor, with the possibility of saving some money within our current contract with them. Now, our current contract runs until June 30th, 2013. In other words, they got one more year after this one. So what we've been negotiating was savings within the upcoming year that we still have to go with them, and they have agreed to me to reduce for the town of Black Mountain by $1 per household pickup, which equates to we got 3,980 homes in the town of Black Mountain. So that equates to a savings of a little over, well, let me run down the whole thing. We've got, that equates to a savings of $47,760 for the upcoming year, plus they had a 3.2 CPI cost of living clause in there, with CIP being at 3.2 right now. That equates to $17,621, and they also agreed to do everything for us pertaining to the Sourwood Festival, which we're now paying $950 per dumpster, and the chamber is paying for separate pickups throughout the Sourwood Festival. They will be assuming all that, which will be a little bit of savings to the Chamber of Commerce. So all in all, we're saving within the upcoming budget year $66,381, plus they have agreed to give us May and June of this year, which equates to $7,960 savings in this budget year. So we're very happy. Oh, one thing we did need to do, they asked for a 5-year contract extension. I wouldn't agree to bring that to the board, but I did bring this proposal, which includes a 3-year contract extension. So that's what we're going to be doing with them for this savings. We will be extending their contract by 3 years. So anyway, I thought that was worth talking about tonight. That was approved by the board last Monday. Now, the next thing that I have is something that I'm mighty proud of our folks, that we've got our quarterly departmental report. And I will call on Dean for the financial report to start with. Dean, it's always good to be first up and get it out of the way.
It gets better. My name is Dean Luby. I'm the finance director, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the financial condition of the town as of March 31st, 3/4 of the way through the fiscal year. Our property and DMV taxes make up almost 50% of our general fund revenues, and we're on target to, I think our overall collection rate will end up being around 97%. Property taxes themselves will be closer to 99%. And those are very comparable with last year. Our sales taxes see the big increase due to the property tax, the rate increase 2 years ago. We're on projection to almost get $1.2 million in sales tax revenue. That'll be the highest sales tax the town has ever received. Back in '07, we were at about 1.1, then we dipped down to about 930,000 in fiscal year 10. But we've seen a nice increase here lately, so that's helping our revenues. Franchise taxes are just about at 50%. The mild winter has sort of reduced those numbers a little bit. Building permits I'm sure Jennifer will talk a little bit more about those. Those are on target for about another 100,000 for this year. We could be doing a little bit better there, but it's not terrible either. And recreation revenues are kind of seasonal, but they're looking good compared to last year as well. I also list some large revenue types in some of the proprietary funds. Water sales are very stable, as always. Even with Billy Casper coming in, the two green fees and cart fees are on target from last year, or they're very close. I didn't include memberships because of the 2-year membership deal. It kind of makes comparable information a little difficult, really. On the expense side of the ledger, for the general fund, if you just page down a little bit, you'll see that we're, as of 3/4 of the year, we've spent $370,000 less than last year. Some of that is because last year we had installment purchases for a bunch of vehicles, which were about $250,000. But as Al said, the department directors have done a great job of tightening the belts all the way around. And then we've been short-staffed in a couple areas, so we've had a little savings in some salaries as well. Down to water expenditures, we actually appear to be quite a bit higher than last year, about little over $200,000 higher. One reason behind that is I've decided to do a transfer every quarter, whereas last year that transfer was done at the end of the year. The water fund basically pays the general fund $130,000 for the work that the general fund does for them. So I've allocated that every quarter, and that's $100,000 of the difference. There's also been some higher capital expenditures in the water fund this year. The water lines out on US 70 cost about $60,000, and some of the GIS work we did early in the year for about another $25,000. Golf course expenditures are also a little bit higher. A lot of that can be attributed to the payment we make monthly on the irrigation equipment out of the golf course. Our main operating account at NCCMT is in the green highlight here, and it's looking good compared to some past years. A lot of that is because of that MSD reimbursement that we spoke of earlier. That's about $300,000 of that increase. On to the next page. I list the town's debts and the balance at 3/31. Right now, the town is in debt about $5.2 million total between both funds. And finally, there's a short little recap on a lot of these capital projects. As of today, actually, all of the water capital projects are finished. They have not been closed out for a couple different reasons. Even in the general fund projects, really the only one that's kind of actively moving right now is the Safe Routes to School project. That's about all I have. Anybody have any questions?
Thank you, Dean.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, Administrative Services, Janelle Gray.
Janelle Gray, the HR coordinator. This quarter, I worked up the personnel budget for the fiscal year 12-13. This involved putting into an Excel worksheet all the employees and their benefits for the finance director to use on his budget preparation. We implemented the new benefit focus program as of March 2012. The state health plan went entirely paperless. And we had to learn to implement the new benefit focus program to enroll all the new employees, or all the employees in their dependents in the insurance program for this year. We had the annual health insurance enrollment. So we had to enroll all the employees for the upcoming calendar year. Printed the annual W-2s for all the town employees and staff for 2011. Also, with the help of the department heads, we've got the annual employee evaluations and performance goals worked up. We do those annually for each of the employees. This year, we included performance goals to find out what the employees' long-term and short-term goals were, what they hope to attain and strive for the upcoming years. Attended a webinar named Alphabet Soup. This webinar covered information on FMLA, the Family Medical Leave, ADA, Americans with Disabilities Act, and the GINA, the Genetic Information Non-Discrimination Act. And we organized the Service Award Banquet held on February the 19th for the employees, recognizing employees for their length of service with the town. Employees with 5, 10, 15, 20, and 25 years were recognized and awarded a plaque. All employees enjoyed a good fellowship and a wonderful meal, as you can see from the pictures. And finally, we organized Steve Harmon's retirement party on March the 30th. Steve retired after 30 years with the town of Black Mountain. Thank you.
Thank you, Janelle.
And Darlene Westnut, Janelle and Darlene are double teaming on the administrative side. So Darlene, I'll turn to you.
Some of the events that I was involved in this past quarter were the CPR and AED classes that Battalion Chief John Wilson taught, and also the first aid class was held on April 11th. About 6 months ago, Tim, we got those AED equipped devices installed, and so now I believe most of all of the rec department had their training, and most of the ones in town hall themselves had their training on how to use it. So that was good. Lunch and Learns, Carolyn's very good about putting those together almost monthly, but at least bi-monthly. And the last one, well, the one in February was Love Your Heart, led by Denise Barat. And there were about 8 people joining in on that, learning about healthy eating habits and exercise that help your heart. And then Janella just mentioned the Town of Black Mountain Employee Luncheon celebrating years of service was held in February. And then a ribbon cutting and groundbreaking for the Town Square property was held Friday, March 23rd, 2012. And these are the pictures. That's the lady that came, and she's a registered dietitian and licensed nutritionist that was at the Love Your Heart luncheon. And these are just a few of the pictures from the ribbon cutting groundbreaking for Town Square property, with the ominous clouds hovering over us that day. The groundbreaking, the aldermen that were there shoveling the first bits of dirt, and then the front loader, is that what you call it? Knocking down the wall. And the people that were there, and then Tom Gill standing behind the sign with Jamie there. We appreciate all the hard work of the Town Square Steering Committee. I wanted to mention, about 3 months ago, it was mentioned that communication needed to be increased as far as letting the citizens know what's going on involving Town Hall, the different meetings, the different events. So the board voted and passed that we could have a weekly ad in the Black Mountain News. And how many of you look at that every Wednesday when you look at the paper? It's always on the second page. We put it in the same spot so it would be easy for you to look at. This was in last week's paper and just gives you some of the announcements and events going on and whether or not a meeting is scheduled or canceled. So be sure and look at this. In fact, you can cut it out, put it on your refrigerator, but hopefully this is helpful in getting the word out as to what's going on. And also we have our website there where you can see all the events on the calendar that's there as well. Whoops, I don't want to go that far. The last thing, oh, I forgot one. Muni code, municipal code, where the code of ordinances are on the website as well. That has been linked now to where you go click, when you click on that, then it gives you the list of ordinances, and it's very user friendly. It's different than what we had, so it's a little bit getting used to, but I think you'll find it very user friendly. There are some edits that need to be made, and each time annually we will put a supplement together, or they will, and that will be easy to update that so that every year it's going to be updated. And we're glad that that's finally on the web. The last thing I'd like to speak briefly about is our boards and commissions. This is a group of volunteers that we really appreciate. We have several committees: the ABC Board, the Greenways Commission, Historic Preservation Commission, Housing Commission, Planning Board, Recreation Commission, Urban Forestry Commission, and the Zoning Board of Adjustment. And annually, excuse me, there are certain members that their term is up, and therefore we have some vacancies. So this year we have one opening on the ABC Board, and we have received 2 applications so far. On the Greenways Commission, there are 3 openings, and we've received 2 applications, and there are 2 that are already serving that are eligible for the 2nd term. Historic Preservation, there are 2 openings. So far we don't have any applications, but we have 1 member that is eligible for the 2nd term. Housing, there's 3 openings. Actually, we don't have any applications either, but we have 3 that serve on there that could possibly serve for their 2nd term. Planning Board, there are 2 openings, and we have 1 that's eligible for a 2nd term. Recreation, there are 3 openings, 1 application, and 2 people that are currently serving that could serve a 2nd term. Urban Forestry, 2 openings, no applications, and Zoning Board of Adjustment, 1 opening, and there's no applications, and that will be for the 3rd alternate position, because the 1st alternate will automatically go up into the vacant position and serve as a full-time Zoning Board of Adjustment member. So if there is anyone out there that is interested in serving the town of Black Mountain in this way, be sure and get your application in. The deadline is the 31st of May, and then they will be appointed in our June 18th meeting with the Board of Aldermen. Thank you very much.
Thank you. One thing they didn't mention, and that was having to put up with me every day in the administrative department. They probably deserve a medal for that. Thank you for not mentioning that, ladies. Next up, we got Fire and Rescue. We got Chief Steve Jones.
Darlene, that was important what you said about the meeting being on the 18th of June, because that's a different date from what we normally meet.
And it will be in the paper several times and on the web.
I'm Steve Jones. I live at 106 Monterey Road. Trying to see if everybody's awake. The 3rd quarter, the fire department, we had 426 calls total. 314 of those were in the city. 112 were in the East Buncombe district, so that equates to about 74% in the city, 26 in the East Buncombe district.
We average 10 times a month where we're working multiple calls. At the same time, that number's probably off a little bit because we went to a new reporting system and we're still learning how to operate the new software. So how you get the information off of this software is different than what we're used to. And if you've ever been involved with the fire department, you know that we don't like change very well. So we're doing the best we can. We spent 19,195 hours on those calls. We had 2 structure fires in the quarter. The first one was in the city. It was $15,500 exposed to fire, and it was a total loss. I will tell you that when we drove down 70, we seen the building on fire, and we had to drive 3 miles a round trip to get to it because it was on Ingalls property, and we had to go from the new end all the way to the old entrance, and you turn back up to it. It was a utility shed that was totally engulfed. So that is a long drive when you know something's on fire and you can see it, you just can't get to it without going around the world. The next one was we had $110,400,000 exposed to a fire in the East Buncombe district, and it was a loss of about $97,400. This was at Charles Dillon High School, and there's nothing any more scary than to roll up to one of your schools and see black smoke boiling out the doors of the building and know that there's children inside. This was contained in an elevator, which was in an elevator shaft, so there wasn't a whole lot to burn, and it was luckily right after school, and most of the children were out. We just had some kids there getting ready to go on a sporting event. Nobody was injured, and we were able to get the fire out. We're still well within our 10% loss ratio that we set for ourselves. We had 406 business inspections. A lot of these inspections were at Ingalls Warehouse. That's why you see the picture of it here. We are winding down. The fire department actually give them permission to occupy the building on a temporary basis. That is a huge facility. We are to bid for the Super Bowl because you can play on the roof of that facility. It's amazing to see what all that, to get up there and walk across that roof and in that building. It's awesome. And then we did 8 residential inspections. Our fire inspections office has been really covered up with Ingalls Warehouse. He's worked himself to the bone trying to get them in that building and get them up and running. So I just want to recognize his efforts and his hard work in getting them compliant with all the code issues. Public and education, we had 65 of those events last quarter, and most of these events are some type of children coming to the fire department and taking a tour. And when they come, we do more than just show them the trucks. We take them in the back, we set them down in the classroom, we give them a speech on fire safety. We walk them through the facility and show them what it takes to be a fireman, how we live, how we do our daily business, and then we take them out and end up on the fire truck, which is really what they want to see. But we do try to incorporate a lot of other stuff. Training, we had 3,795 hours spent on training last quarter. We had several members get certifications. We had Chris Burnett got his probationary fire inspector level 1. This just means he can go out and do some of the very basic stuff in fire inspections like pre-plans and that kind of stuff. He'd be on probationary period till he gets through with all his classes and gets signed off. Joe Snyder got his hazardous materials level 1 certification. Deputy Chief Craig Bannerman got his EMTB recert. We have to recert our medical certifications every 5 years, and that requires a number of training hours along with some performance evaluations. And then Charlie Russell and Chad Blackwater attended the UNC Charlotte and got their Fire and Rescue Management Institute certificate. They do that for 6 months, 1 week a month, and they go down there and learn all about trying to run a fire department. And then the most important thing is the extra duty hours. We had 572 hours spent at the station just helping out, cleaning, checking off trucks, running errands, and doing that kind of stuff. We're fortunate enough we're getting a younger fireman base now, and we got about 5 that are real young, and they're really interested in it, and they're there a lot, and that's why these numbers are up so good, and we're looking to find some more, because some of us old people are working our way out the door. Anybody have any questions?
I want you to touch on how the youth need, who to contact if we get in your youth program.
If you'd like to join the Explorer program, you can contact Battalion Chief Charlie Russell at the Black Mountain Fire Department at 828-419-9320. If he's not in, just leave a message with the on-duty shift supervisor and they'll get the information to him. Also, if you are a child that lives in Swannanoa and you want to join, you can contact that as well, or you can call Eric Wardwell or Chief Anthony Penland at the Swannanoa Fire Department. And I'm sorry I don't know that number right off the top of my head.
They have a youth program too.
We are joining our efforts to try to build it up. Since all the children in the valley end up at Owen High School and you have to be 14 years of age, we decided to combine the two, and that way both departments could benefit from it, and we'll combine our training and stuff. And Mayor, I finished my first year of college, and I'm home, and me and my daughter's good.
Good.
Your daughter transferred?
Thank you, Chief. Next up, we got Jennifer Tipton, Building, Zoning, and Planning.
Good evening. Okay, for permits and inspections for our third quarter, we've had a 16% decrease in permits issued from this time last year. We do look for that to start increasing in the next few months. We are hearing a lot of rumblings and seeing some new construction coming in, both commercial and residential. For our inspections, we had a 21% increase, again, like the fire department. A lot of that is attributed to the Ingalls facility. Like Steve said, they have been granted a temporary certificate of occupancy to operate the perishables section of the new warehouse. They still have some work to do on their the last bit of dry storage and in the admin offices. For our permit fees, we did have a 13% decrease. Again, these fees encompass all of our permits, so that would be building, mechanical, plumbing, electrical. It just encompasses everything. Again, we do look for that to increase as we see new construction coming in. For our privilege licenses, we had a 25% decrease in licenses issued and a 61% decrease in license revenue. Again, this can be attributed to the economy, and we don't see a lot of businesses coming into the area. We have seen quite a few coming in since April, so again, do look for that number to start rising in the next few months. For zoning, we've had a 50% increase in complaints, a 60% decrease in violations, and a 69% decrease in inspections. Even with the increase in complaints versus the decrease in violations, some of the complaints end up not being valid or can be settled with just a phone call, so they don't actually need a violation sent out to them. Same thing with inspections. Those have just kind of dwindled since not a lot's been going on, but we have seen those picking up as well. Are there any questions?
What collection efforts do you have for privilege license that are past due?
We usually send a second and third notice. After the third notice, we do have options to either garnish wages, different collection methods. We have not at this time used any of those and haven't in years past, is my experience. I'm actually getting ready to mail out bills for this year, and I want to say there were about 15 that had a past due from last year's balance. So we did a lot better in collection this year than we have, which was surprising. So, thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Next, we got Police Department Chief Steve Padgett.
Good evening. The police department received for third quarter 2012, 5,412 calls. That is up from the 2011 third quarter at 4,349 calls. We also had 460 hours training. That is down. We're trying to get back up to staff, and once we do that, we hope to increase those training hours. If you'll notice in the yellow is the 2011 totals, third quarter totals, and in the green is the 2012 third quarter totals. So the incidents were up from 57 to 103 incidents that reported for this quarter. Also, citation charges were up 218 for the third quarter. Total arrests was up 122. Total charges were up 191. And then traffic accidents were down. That was a decrease. We had 49, and then 2011 quarter we had 54. Drug violations were up. We had 28 charges versus 17. And DWIs were slightly down. We had 13 versus 14 in that quarter. One of the things that the police department did in the third quarter, we participated in the MADS DWI awareness initiative at the Highway Patrol Station, along with other surrounding agencies. Mothers Against Drunk Driving, MAD, was founded by a mother whose 13-year-old daughter was killed by a drunk driver in 1980. MAD is one of the nation's largest nonprofit organizations dedicated to protect families from drunk driving and underage drinking. Guest speakers included District Attorney Ron Moore, MAD's local representative here in North Carolina, Western North Carolina, and the family of victims killed by drunk drivers. The second, we also participated in Operation Lifesaver. This, along with the Norfolk Southern Safety Team, we handed out brochures on railroad crossing safety tips. This public information event is called Operation Lifesaver. Operation Lifesaver is a program designed to raise awareness at the railroad crossings. This public information education program is to prevent and reduce crashes and injuries and fatalities at railroad crossings. Most people are surprised to hear that in America, a person or vehicle is hit by a train about every 3 hours. We decided the location at NC9 and Broadway due to the fact that that particular intersection does need awareness. Many drivers stop on the tracks waiting for the red lights to turn green. This is not only illegal, but it's also dangerous. It takes an average freight train approximately 1 mile to stop. If the locomotive engineer can see you, then it's too late to stop the train. So again, we want to make sure that we raise awareness on these crossings. They are very dangerous. You do not want to stop on the crossing to wait for that red light to turn green. We also participated with the Mount Mitchell Challenge. That was mainly with traffic control. That event seems to grow every year, and it all went well this year. And our department partnered with the Safe Kids of North Carolina and participated in Operation Medicine Drop. Operation Medicine Drop is a statewide initiative to provide people with safe ways to dispose of old or unused medications. We took in 20,832 dosages of medication, which was properly destroyed by the state of North Carolina's SBI lab. The reserve hours for this past quarter of 2012, third quarter, we had 315 reserve hours, which equals to $4,646.25 cost savings to the town for those folks coming out and working and volunteering their services. And we want to always thank them for doing that. You have any questions?
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Next up, Public Services, Jamie Matthews.
Evening, Mayor and Board. Public Services, we had a very busy quarter. Completing the streets and parks, we completed 636 work orders, 125 in water with 12 water leaks. We had water cutoffs and connections at 174 and 22 in sanitation. Our water system, our water usage was 554,423 gallons a day with a water loss of 29.53% at 164,255 gallons per day. Our water quality passed all water tests for the quarter. I'd like to thank Mark White for that. He does an excellent job with that always. And our water system projects, our GIS, GPS mapping projects, we got 270 hydrants located, 795 valves. Checking with Mark Kaliski, he says he seems to think we have about 50 more valves left downtown, which will be coming in either early or late in the evening because of traffic. Steve Harmon's helping us with that. They're doing an excellent job with that. Our Carolina Heights water pressure assessment we've been working on, Mark's been working on that with Jesse Gardner. Jesse's actually got a model that he's putting together, and me and Al and Mark's supposed to meet with him tomorrow, see where we stand on that, and see if we can get the ball rolling forward on that. As far as the Hempfield water tank, you guys are aware of that and talked about it this evening. On our infrastructure projects, the town hardware stormwater project was completed. Our ADA projects, as far as fixtures and everything in the locations throughout town, was completed. We replaced some moldings here in Town Hall and done some painting. I thank Lewis Melton for that. He done an excellent job. And our town square, where we took down the wall and all the asphalt, we completed that, all except for maybe putting some rocks around it, which was donated by Montrese with no cost to keep people off of it. And the rest of the cost was incurred and took care of by Town Square Steering Committee. Appreciate Tom McGill and everything he's done. He's a pleasure to work with. On our infrastructure activities, we removed 10 trees throughout the town. It was big trees. It was a safety issue. We've done a lot of tree pruning, and of course, Al speaks of us taking back the first ink mowing. We've done some mowing in the right of ways. We took that back. Everything's been very successful with that. Pleased with how it's going. Our spring preparations, getting out of winter into spring. We got the sanders off the truck, plows back where they go. Chainsaws, weed eaters maintenance, lawnmowers, done all the spring preparation, got that completed. We've done several storm drain repairs. I'd like to thank Billy and Joe Duncan for that. They've done some welding on some storm drains that needed some welding. It saved us some money without having to replace the grates. And of course, we're still working on stormwater ditching, and we'll be doing that as weather permitting probably for the next 2 or 3 years. So, but that's going good, and we're pleased with how that's going. On the parks maintenance side of things, Lake Tomahawk, we installed two new storm drains, done some trail maintenance. We underbrushed the dam at the lake, done some tree removals, some tree pruning. I'd like to thank Eric Wardle for coming out and giving us some training on that. We replaced a couple of benches over there. Gray Eagle, me and Casey had mentioned restoring a room in the back of Gray Eagle. And so we made that happen. We replaced the ceilings, the light fixtures, done the electrical, repainted it. He'd like to have birthday parties over there, which will be another income for the town. I hope that works out for him. Carver Center, we put up a new split rail fence, keep people out of the field to parking lots. Fixed 2 water leaks inside the building when we had to take the wall completely out, fix the leaks and put it back. Rec Park, we done trail maintenance over there, done some underbrushing on the Riverwalk Trail and Oaks Trail, re-landscaped the picnic areas, done ball field maintenance and mowing. Greenway maintenance, we installed benches, trash cans, picnic tables, community garden, done landscaping over there, re-gravelled the roads. We cut on the water community garden, gravelled the roads over there. We delivered what wood chips we had to the dog park, and Patricia Kennedy donated a gazebo to the dog park and asked if we would deliver it, so we made that happen. That way the guys and girls over there have a place to sit out of the weather. So that worked out real good. And we got the Christmas decorations took down after the winter. On the administrative side of things, the 2 dams emergency action plan with the Army Corps engineer that we've been talking about. I met with Judy Wiseman from W.K. Dixon and got some information from her. She's really up on this stuff. And asked her, to save money, if we could take the trees down and remove the stumps, because I'm confident we can do it. She said there was no problem with that was an excellent idea, but she would recommend going through an engineer to supervise us as we've done it, just for liability purposes. So I thought I would throw that out there, but if it can be a money-saving thing, we'll be more willing to do it, and I'm confident we can do it. Safe routes to school. Been working with Carolyn Freiberger on that, and we're moving forward on that. I actually started quotes last week and met with Dale Robson from Cameron Concrete Works, who's done several sidewalks in town, including Montreat Road, and he met with me today. We went over the prints and went and walked it, so he's supposed to get with me by the end of the week and give me a price and see if we can get that implemented and finished before the grant. And some other things we had going on, we've done some restructuring within my department, done some promotions, and I'd like to congratulate Keith Bell, who is the new operations manager. Doug Allen, Chris Sloan, who's crew supervisors. I couldn't be more proud of these guys. They've stepped up to the plate, and they've showed a lot of enthusiasm. They got a lot of knowledge and are willing to learn. So within this next year, we're going to be more cost efficient. We're going to do things right the first time, and we're going to provide excellent customer service, and that's what we're after, and that's our goal for this year. And I'm confident that with this team that it'll happen. We hired a new guy, Sean Bills, who's good for the team. He's a good guy. He lives right here in town. He has got electrician experience, but he's going to be our new meter reader. He's quick to learn. He's well motivated, and so I'm excited about him. And of course, we had the retirement for Steve Harmon, which we lost a lot of knowledge there. He had 30 years experience, but he agreed to come back under contract, and he's back a couple of days a week now, helping us locate the valves and finish with that project. And I'd like to thank him for that. And I could go on and on and on. I'm sure I missed a lot of things we've done, but we'd be here a while. So that's about all I have for the department. If you got any questions.
Thank you. Good report.
No, I'd just like to let the public know that when you begin to look at the work orders that this department has completed now compared to what it used to do 2 to 3 years ago, it's not double, it's almost triple the amount. Thanks for the good work.
Thank you, Jamie. Okay, and last but not least, recreation, we got Casey Connor.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. First thing wanted to go over were some of the athletics. Our youth basketball and youth indoor soccer, they're up there. They cover kind of 2 quarters. The first, they're in the second quarter of the year, they mostly administration and some practices. The third quarter there is all the games, and so that's really where the rubber meets the road. Start Smart Soccer, we finished up with 26 participants this year, and our dodgeball league for the winter had 7 teams. That's a picture of our dodgeball champions and some of the kids from Start Smart, as well as youth basketball. Our health and wellness programs, we had the Black Mountain Greenway Challenge. We had 303 participants in that. We raised approximately $5,000 for the greenways. Also, we've proposed, with the health initiative, we proposed the tobacco-free ordinance, as well as the fresh produce distribution that goes on the last Thursday of each month. At the community garden, this time of year it's a little bit light on the harvesting, but they did harvest 121 pounds of vegetables. We got a $200 grant from Asheville Greenworks. We had 352 hours of volunteer labor, and we registered 77 people for garden plots. The senior center activities, Renee spoke of some of those earlier, but in addition to those, we had the aging support group that we started, also a Walk with Ease program. The nutrition site continues to average about 22 participants daily, and we also had 6 van clan trips with approximately 12 participants for each one of those. The special events we held, we had the Easter egg hunt. We had over 300 attendees for that. That's held at Rec Park. We had crafts, games, entertainers, things of that nature. We also had the Valentine Run, which was a very cold experience for anybody that remembers back that far. But we still had 201 runners come out and brave the cold for that. And this is the biggest part of my presentation tonight is our upcoming events. I don't know if you can zoom in on that or not. This is our upcoming brochure that'll be coming out. It was in the Black Mountain News last Wednesday. It'll also be going home with all the kids at the schools, and we've placed them in buildings throughout town as well as Chamber of Commerce. It contains all the activities, some of the activities here I'm going to speak of. We've got our Park Rhythms that begins June 21st. That'll be Shannon Whitworth. I skipped one. The Recreation Swim League and swim lessons that we're starting this year. We'll have swim lessons every week throughout the summer. And we're also starting a new program, which is a recreational swim league. That's for kids ages 7 to 15. It's all going to be kids, here in Black Mountain. They'll sign up. It'll be structured a lot like our basketball and indoor soccer programs. Be 2 meetings per week. Usually we'll have practices in the morning and the afternoon. And then on Saturday morning, starting in July, we'll have swim meets there at the pool. They'll only be competing against other kids here in Black Mountain. Let's see, we have our Black Mountain Summer Adventures Camp that will be going this summer. The dates are in here. We'll have 4 weeks of that summer camp. Our Summer Dodgeball League kicks off June 5th. We also have a whole bunch of new classes going on at the Carver Center. Some of them are there, yoga. We've got a couple dance classes, a Zumba class. We've got a couple healthy eating classes going on, as well as a cross conditioning class as well. And finally, the NCRPA Sidewinder Disc Golf Tournament will be held at Rec Park on July 7th. It's a fundraiser for the North Carolina Recreation and Parks Association. And it'll be a series of events. If the winners there will go on to play at a tournament in October at Richmond Hill. And the last thing I'd like to mention is our website there at the bottom. It's the same address, but we've got a new provider for our website. The online registration is much, much better than it used to be. And hopefully we've got all the information posted up there well. But feel free to take a look at it and give us any feedback on it. Any questions?
Got a couple. Any vacancies on the garden plots?
We do not. We have a waiting list for garden plots.
The other, if for some way, I don't know how you're going to be able to do it, that we could get a count on those playing disc golf. Just think about that. In some way, maybe they could register when they come in somehow. That they could start that out there at number 1, which is fairly accessible. But I think that they could get a lot more attention from the town if people really realize the number that's playing that.
Yeah, it is definitely a substantial number.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's been good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Casey. Mayor and Board, one thing that I failed to mention in my report about GDS sanitation contract, and that was the help of Pam Hoey that she gave on that. She was a tremendous help in these negotiations, so I wanted to mention that. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have any communication from?
Well, just Al, real quick. On the red light at Paget Town, is that gonna be the street that's directly in front of Burton's or the 4-lane?
Be on the 2-lane.
It's gonna be on the 2-lane.
Yeah, on the 2-lane at
So-
Paget Town.
So coming across Paget Town, going up to the 4-lane. Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah,
Okay, thanks.
yeah.
Any members of the board like to make a comment?
Yes, sir, I would. First of all, I want to thank Al and Dean for their work on what they're doing as far as the refinancing that they've been doing, the sanitation services with the GDS, and the work that the staff's been doing as far as their budgets. Even though it was in their budget, they came up and did not spend what they were allowed in their budget. They were actually trying to look out for the town and save money. And I'm talking about the police department, public services, all of them. And I'm just thankful, Al, that you and Dean and the staff, town employee staffs, have helped reduce our spending in this town like you have. And I don't think there's been a citizen in this town can say that they got any less services from any department. And I just want to say thanks.
Thank you, thank you. It's been a big time joint effort, let me tell you. It's all the way through. Everybody, all staff has had a big part in this.
Any other board member? This time, citizen comments. Did you have signed up, Ruth?
Ruth Brandon, 722 Laurel Avenue. Donna, I agree with you. All the reports were excellent reports tonight. I followed all of them because I've been involved so long. I'm just as interested today as if I were sitting up there instead of back there. I said I had some good news tonight. First, as a member of Business to Business Merchants Association, I'm be pleased to say that we have several new businesses in town. There's a new bakery on West State Street across from my shop. And Krista Ann's Boutique over on Ridgeway is moving also across from my shop. And there's a couple of antique stores that will be opening shortly. So this should be music to the ears of your board members because it brings you much needed retail sales tax revenue. The other good news I have is, for those of you that are interested, the town of Waynesville is having a big affair for our former town manager, Marcy O'Neill, on May 22nd at their new municipal building. So mark your calendars. They were very wise to have hired her. They reviewed her credentials and realized what a gem they were getting. You'll also be happy to know that she and her husband will be able to take their long planned for three-week trip to Africa. And they go with the town board of Waynesville's blessings. So if any of you care to carpool for the 22nd, just please let it be known. And you can help her celebrate the great place in life that she is right now. So sign up to carpool, line forms right over there to the right. Thank you.
We want to thank the entrepreneurial committee that has been real diligent in working to get more businesses in town, led by Mary Leonard White. So we thank them also. Any other business? Not, I declare this meeting adjourned.
Experience, for one, very personable.
Let them review it and come back with a recommendation. I would suggest that. First stop, planning board, then back to us, call for public hearing, move forward.
Consensus, go to the planning board? No objection? Okay. And when the planning board does, I'd like for them to look at Durham's.
Okay, okay. Mr. Attorney?
I have nothing more, Mr. Mayor.
Al?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be as brief as I can. I do have some items to talk a little bit about. Just more for information at this point than anything. Some things we're working on. Number one, I guess, or the town staff said a while back that we would be looking at the town debt, and we would be looking at anything that we felt like that we could reduce the interest rate and save us some money. So, Finance Director Dean Luby and I, the first one that we're looking at, I'll just kind of tell you, we're not ready to finalize anything on this, but to kind of tell you where we are on it right now, and that's the town square debt. That is at 4.92% right now. That's with BB&T. We have a commitment from them at this point to take that down to 3.51. We are still waiting to hear back, I believe, from SunTrust, and we've talked to basically all banks in the area. So we're leaving no stones unturned. We've got 18 years to go on that debt, and we'll also look, Dean and I talked about this a little bit today, we'll look also at possibility of doing 15 years. Some of the banks won't go to 18, so we're looking at all possibilities. But bottom line, where we are right now, we are looking at over the 18 years left to go, we're looking at a net savings of $231,000 on what we owe right now. So that we know we're going to be able to save a significant amount of money, and we'll bring back to you, hopefully in the near future, a finished product of our findings on that.
And there's a good chance then that by going to the 15-year, we then have more banks that will be bidding on it then.
More players, yes, sir.
But those players will be probably giving us a lower interest rate too, correct?
I would think so. I would think the shorter the term you go, the better your rate's gonna get. Yes, sir.
Good.
I want to let you know that we have a donation of dogwood trees from the Lions Club. I believe they donated 16 trees to the town. We have funneled that through the Urban Forest Commission, and Jamie Matthews has been working with them. Pam Hoeing has kind of been heading this up, but we just want to publicly thank our Lions Club for the donation tonight. A little bit of info, working with GDS, our sanitation contractor. That contract is not up until June 30th of 2013, but I did feel like that there was a possibility of some savings to be had here. So I've been talking with them. They have already, now in their contract, they have CPI, cost of living, consumer price index, tied to consumer price index, which is at 3.2% right now. That's in their contract. So if we do nothing, we'll have a $17,625 increase this year. They have already told me that they will forego that if we'll extend that contract for another year to July 1 or through June 30th of 2014. Now, I'm still working on possibility of some other savings, so I'm not ready to bring that to you tonight for a vote. But I wanted to let you know what we got going on there. And I will give you, I think I've got it here somewhere. Started out with it, a breakdown of the contract.
Did you find out if there's a fuel clause increasing?
There is not. There was, and that question come up. Thank you, Mayor. There is not at this time. There has been one in there in the past, but I couldn't find anything on that. Let me give you the breakdown of what we're paying right now by service. Garbage, $299, $954. Recycling, $97, $229. Yard waste, $140, $983. White goods, $12,639 for a total cost of $550,807.44 in this year's contract. So we'll continue to work with them, trying to possibly come forth with some more savings. Hope we can, but I'll be back to you on that one. The last one that I have, and I apologize to you for this one, because it is not on the agenda, because I only got the info today on this one, and this come to me from Steve Paget, our interim police chief, and this is a possibility for a grant. And the reason I bring it to you tonight, if we're to do anything, this is due March 22nd. So we're in a really tight time frame. Now, the way this thing works, it is for one police officer. It is a 3-year deal. It's a matching 75% with us paying 25%. At the end of the 3-year period, we will pay the full salary, as you would expect. But 3 years, 75, 25. Year 4, the salary 100% funded by us. So I wanted to get a feel from you tonight. Do you want us to pursue the grant? Because we will be committing 25% of salary of one police officer this coming year. And then, of course, in year 4, 100%. So I want to bring that to you tonight for your thoughts.
Probably need to look at that during our budget workshops. I noticed you've got on here until March 22nd to submit your application updates.
Yeah, now, it's gonna take, and I talked with the chief today, it's gonna take a little while for him. Today is the 12th. This is due in 10 days, and it's gonna take a few days to prepare this thing. So we're on a pretty tight time frame.
Well, personally, I think we're more in need of firemen than we are police. Any comments, board?
Yeah, because then after 3 years, we're fully funding this.
You are.
Which is,
Yes,
which
sir.
is gonna be bumping up ours from 18 to 19.
Yes, sir. We have a vacancy right now, but that won't apply. It's gotta be a newly created position. So we can't use that.
We can't get
Be nice if
creative and
we could.
eliminate it?
Huh?
We can't get creative and eliminate it?
Well, now you guys might take that one out tonight, and we might reconvene. No, I'm kidding. But
I'm not in favor of it myself, for just the budget constraints that it puts on us.
Any other comments? We've heard your next one, I guess.
direction.
I'd say, seems to be consensus of the board not pursuing.
Not
it
to
this
apply?
time.
Okay, good enough. Okay, I have, if I could keep up with my paperwork, I'm gonna call on interim police chief Steve Paget. He's gonna talk to us a little bit about Operation Medicine Drive. Chief?
Thank you. Good evening. We just want to encourage everyone to participate in Operation Medicine Drop. This will be our 3rd year. The last 2 years has been very successful, so we hope that this year will be too. And for those of you who may not know, what is Operation Medicine Drop? It's a statewide initiative to provide people with safe ways to dispose of old or unused medications. There's several other agencies that we partnership with. It's Safe Kids North Carolina, NC Department of Insurance, U.S. Drug Enforcement Agency, and North Carolina State Bureau of Investigations. These are the agencies that are backing this, and it's a really good operation. Some of the issues is Operation Medicine Drop is important because when excess medications are kept around the home, they create dangerous opportunities for prescription drug abuse and accidental poisonings. Poisonings from prescription drugs and medications have increased in recent years here in North Carolina. While most people are familiar with poison hazards presented by cleaning supplies, it's important to know that since 1999, more than 75% of all unintentional poisonings were caused by prescription or over-the-counter medications. Most people, when they dispose of these medications, they either flush them down the toilet or throw them in the trash. And this presents issues within themselves also. This can contaminate water sources, and these contaminations has been found in waterways here in North Carolina. Our rivers and streams are particularly vulnerable to these effects of drug contamination. Some of these drugs have been found in our water and are linked to development of diabetes, breast cancer, and kidney problems. Some really, really important facts, and I'll share those with you. They were very interesting. The average North Carolinian fills 14 prescriptions annually, which adds up to over 127 million prescriptions filled statewide each year. Studies show that as much as 40% of these drugs dispensed are never used. Since 1999, approximately 4,500 in North Carolina have died from prescription poisoning. Also, approximately 40% of injuries from unintentional poisons occurred in children under 5 years old. 1 in 5 teens has abused prescription drugs. In 2004, a study identified 100 different pharmaceuticals in surface water. Unused or expired prescription medications are a public safety issue, leading to accidental poisonings, overdose, and abuse. Of those 12 years and older who abused pain relievers in the past year, the majority, which is over 50%, got them from friends and family for free, including from their home medicine cabinets. Only 4.4% got them from a drug dealer or a stranger. Visits to the hospital emergency rooms involving the misuse of abuse or pharmaceutical drugs have doubled over the past 5 years. So this is why this is really important. Let Operation Medicine Drop and the Black Mountain Police Department protect your family by partnershiping with these other agencies. We will be taking your unused and expired medications on March the 19th from 2 to 5 p.m. at the Healthridge Pharmacy located on US 70. And I've got some flyers that I'll put out here in the lobby in case you'd like to pick those up when you exit. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
A couple of comments on that. I would certainly hope that not only that we help support this program on March the 19th, but that hopefully that it would develop into something that would be year-round. With my stay on the MSD board, one of the things that is surfacing, as he mentioned about the waterways, is that just from the chemical nature of these drugs, their formulas, and the way that they break down into such minute quantities in our water, in our wastewater, it's you cannot filter these out. So even though people that are ingesting them for the diseases or for whatever infections they have, we have no control over that. But the excess, if we could go ahead and set up a program beyond just this 1 month, would just be fantastic to be able to pull this out of the wastewater system because the wastewater system eventually ends up in the French Broad River. So this is something that I'm just hoping that in the years ahead or months ahead that we could try to figure out some way, either of some drop boxes. I'm just thinking out loud now, as a way that we could end up doing this so that we provide similar things just like the fire department does on fluorescent light bulbs. You have a bad fluorescent light bulb, you take it to the fire department. They take it in for you. It's a great service.
Jamie? Jamie, you're up. We're going to ask Public Service Director Jamie Matthews to talk about our storm drain issue, which has been completed between our parking lot between Cherry Street and Broadway.
Evening, Mayor and Board. Just wanted to give a brief update on a failing storm system that we replaced behind Town Hardware. The good news is it's completed and it's fixed, and it turned out really good. But what I really wanted to do, I wanted to thank all of the downtown business owners for being patient with us. And it took a little bit longer than we expected. You can always make a material list from the beginning, but you don't really know what you're going to run into until you get into the job. So we had to order some specialty stuff. Took a little longer. Just glad we got it done when we did. Considering the ACC tournaments and everybody offering lunch specials, I probably wouldn't be here tonight. But anyway, I just wanted to say thank you to everybody, and it was a pleasure working with you, and glad we got it done and everything turned out good, so it ought to last many years down the road. So I just want to say thank you to everybody involved.
Thank you.
Jamie, I've got a question. When this first started and y'all were talking about this, there were two options: contracting it out,
Correct.
which the town has done a lot of, or doing it with the Public Service Department.
Correct.
Do you remember roughly how much the contract was?
It's funny that you asked. After the job, I waited till all the receipts was turned in, and I met with Meredith in finance probably 2 weeks ago, and I got a copy of all the receipts for my records personally that I keep on file. And like I say, we had to add some specialty stuff like risers and certain bands and certain types of grout and sand mix. But I also figured man hours, and I like to figure them high. That leaves us some wiggle room. But the quote was for $12,300, and when we finished the job, it come out we spent $6,700. But the private part of the property, the business owners, they paid for the materials. The only thing we supplied was labor. So the time you subtracted that, we saved over $6,000.
Well, I'd like to thank Al on that, because that is a decision that he made to not contract it out and to use our own town people. And I'm proud you made that decision,
Well,
Al.
now we got to thank Jamie too, because we jointly made that decision. And we sit down and talked about it, the two of us. So it was a joint venture.
Well, more of it needs to be done, and the town is appreciative.
I want to just elaborate a little bit on this so that the public knows that this was the line that came out from behind the Town Hardware, went through that driveway and underneath the parking lot. Well, that's all they were going to do. And then they get to the building, Joey Hyder's building, which used to be the old Western or Western Auto. And so then they found out that that line underneath that building was bad.
Correct.
So then that was another Pandora's box that was opened up. But here was a perfect partnership, a public-private partnership. Joey put up half the money to end up going ahead and doing what was underneath his building. We had to do it because of the stormwater going through there.
Correct.
The problem was addressed, the problem was solved, and everybody came out ahead.
We actually had what they call a junction box. We call them J boxes that we supplied that we've had for 2 or 3 years. But that number I gave you, that was added in also. I added extra $500 for that box. But I've got all that information if you would ever need it or like to see it.
And the day that I was out there with the Jess, we went up to Cherry Street, and we were talking about the fact that then instead of trying to maybe run a storm drain all the way down Cherry, bring it down to the public restrooms, then swing it down that hill, cross over that line and go back out to tie into the line on Broadway, and it'd be a whole lot cheaper.
Right.
And that would help address the stormwater problem that's on US 70 and the water coming down Church Street
Right.
too.
There's a lot of water comes down through there, and, you know, the good thing about it is that was a corrugated line that was in there, and the line we put in is smooth wall, so it will carry twice the amount of water. So, you know, I'm very pleased. The guy's done an excellent job. I couldn't be more proud of him, so, but, it should last, hopefully till we're gone. So.
Good work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie.
Board of Aldermen, do Aldermen have any comments?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to comment. I want to thank my colleagues up here for approving the consent agenda, which included naming Station 2, Fire Station 2, after Charlie Arnett. Those of you that don't know Charlie, you don't know what you missed. Charlie started serving the fire department in about 1936. And they had a fire out in Carly Heights in 58 or 59, we're not positive about that date. And the president of the association came along and says, Charlie, why don't you join the fire department? You've been coming to all of our fires and helping us. He said, well, I didn't know I needed to join. So he did. And he was a very active firefighter for many years. And in later years, in the 70s, back when we only had one person on the fire department, Charlie lived right here in town on Scotland, and he was our tanker driver. He'd come get the tanker truck and drive it. There's so many stories I could tell about him. I'm sort of the self-proclaimed historian of the fire department. And I sat Charlie down one day and said, Charlie, tell me all about, we spent several hours talking about things that had gone on. And it was so interesting in listening to him. One of the neat things he said they done is after World War II, they were all issued these white coveralls. And when the air raid siren went off, they had designated places in town that they went to and stopped all the traffic. So Charlie had to do that. He was always at work between 6 and 6:30 in the morning. Got the paper in, got the coffee pot on, done all these running around of errands. In 1992, we got lucky enough that we were able to buy a pickup truck for the fire department rather than us using our own trucks. And I was at the station one day and I heard Gary in there, and I could tell he was getting irritated. Gary Bartlett. He was getting irritated with some lady. And she said, I cannot believe that y'all have gone out and bought that big old pickup truck and expect that little old man to drive it around town doing errands. But it was good, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'd like to just mention something about the town square. To my knowledge, there are and is no plans for the town of Black Mountain to spend any additional money on that piece of property. The town square steering committee is, from my understanding, is supposed to be raising all the funds through grants, matching grants, through donations, whatever. And this town board has no intention of being on the hook, so to speak. And I just want to make that statement. We're not going there.
Anyone else?
And to follow up on Don's statement there, and I noticed that Alan, he was sitting in the room back there, but I think he's gone now.
No, he's here.
He's here. Alan, they have received, you were talking about $100,000. They have $240,000.
Is that also with the matching funds?
Well,
There's some of the larger donations with matching funds, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if they've received any matching funds on that yet.
Okay. But it was my understanding that was bequeathed, a bequeathment to the town square.
I think
for 240. But I will double check that with Tom Gill, just to be sure. Also, too, I heard at a particular meeting that some of the folks were just not convinced that of the $150,000 garbage tax that was repealed at this board's first meeting, as to where the revenue was going to come from. So I want to take just a second, just to make sure that the public understands that this money is not coming out of the